Hi, welcome and good afternoon, good evening, or wherever time you may be watching this. As a child, I was taught to be careful when it comes to choosing a career. Choose a career path carefully, I was told. Stay the path, stay within the lines, never switch careers, or you'll set yourself back. But a few years ago, I discovered product management. And I threw all caution to the wind. Basically, I took a leap of faith. I left my career as a lawyer and became a product manager. Careers no longer need to stay within the lines. With product management, I found that you can actually leverage the skills you have gained in your current degree or profession. Today, I will explore how I left my career as a lawyer and became a product manager, and how I fell in love with product discovery and technology. My name is Carl Davidson. Thank you for tuning in. My goal at the end of this webinar is to hopefully inspire and motivate those who feel intimidated about transitioning into product management, and to show how I did it. I want to start with a quote. So this is a line from Jack Ma. I know nothing about technology. I know nothing about marketing. I know nothing about the legal stuff. I only know about people. So most likely, if you're listening to this webinar, you're not currently in product management. You may not even be working at a tech company. You probably have never built or shipped a product. But like, here's Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, basically acknowledging that he had no technical expertise, no marketing expertise, no legal expertise. He only had expertise in what I believe is the most crucial attribute of a product manager. He understands people. He understands his customers. He understands the needs and wants of his customers, and the problems and the pain points of his customers. It's obvious too, judging on the success of his company, that he doesn't just understand it at a surface level, but he understands his customers deeply. And if you can start with that customer empathy, that customer obsession, then you can achieve great things, not only in product management, but also in starting your own business or starting your own product. You'll meet many different types of product managers. Product managers come from a lot of different educational backgrounds, but they mostly come from three educational backgrounds. You'll meet product managers, and you'll meet a lot of product managers that have an MBA degree. You'll meet product managers that have a computer science degree. And you'll also meet product managers that have an analytics background. I have met exceptional and brilliant product managers with these three backgrounds. But I've also met exceptional and brilliant product managers that did not have any of these three educational backgrounds, did not have a consulting background, did not have any tech background, did not have any analytics background. So don't let your specific degree or current industry discourage you from your goal of transitioning into product management. In fact, you can use the skills that you have gained in your current industry as a strength. Many startups that disrupt the market do so by combining technology with industries that have traditionally been lagging in technology, like law, or like real estate, or trucking, or like auto repair. So don't let your degree or current occupation be a hindrance to transitioning into product management. Oftentimes, it could actually be used as a great advantage. So, case in point, my background, just real briefly, I was a political science major in college. You can't get further from tech than political science. I actually thought about teaching political science, but I had to earn some money, pay back student loans, so I went into law, and I was a lawyer for several years. And then I transitioned into product management with a company called ex-INSZoom, a software company in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then I became a product manager at Intuit, then a senior product manager at Weedmaps, eventually had a product at a legal tech startup. Now, I'll expand later how I transitioned from being a lawyer to a product manager. But at this point, I wanted to show at least that, I was coming from a very atypical background. I didn't have an MBA or tech or an analytics background. I didn't have a design background. I didn't have a marketing background, for example. But it just goes to show you the wide breadth of occupations that can actually be leveraged towards a career in product management. So a bit of context about product management. In my opinion, everybody transitions into product management. Don't think that because someone has a certain degree that they don't need to put in the time or build the skills necessary to be successful in product management. They still do. We all do. We all have to go through a type of transition. Product management isn't necessarily a subject that's a major in college or universities. It's something that you can certainly learn online these days, and I'll get into that later in my presentation. But at the end of the day, everybody has to put in the time, and everybody transitions into this field. The good news is that product management inherently shares skills that are associated with many other occupations. That's one of the reasons why, it's not really defined by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is an agency that's actually tasked with analyzing labor statistics of different occupations. And they're having a hard time defining product management because they acknowledge that product management actually shares skills and techniques that are found in many other occupations. It's also heavily reliant on soft skills. You do not need a computer science degree to become a successful product manager. Now, some companies may require a computer science degree to apply, but many others don't, especially a lot of startups and smaller tech companies, because it is highly reliant on soft skills. I will point out, though, that a technical background is handy because you will be interacting with engineers. Now, it doesn't mean you need to know how to write code. It does mean you should have a certain technical knowledge to communicate with engineers and to be able to translate technical concepts to non-technical people. Keep in mind, though, that as a product manager, you'll need to communicate with a whole host of people, with a variety of people. You'll need to have to interact with customers, designers, executives, and every other stakeholder that you come across. Some key attributes that I have found in successful product managers is included in this list. Going through this, you may find that you're already utilize some of these in your current field. First and foremost, one of the most powerful tools you have in your arsenal as a product manager is your voice. You'll be responsible for speaking with different people, and you must know how to communicate with each stakeholder. The way you communicate with an engineer most likely will be different than the way you communicate with the C-suite or the CEO. And that will be different than the way you communicate with a customer or your designer. Also, you must be customer obsessed. You essentially have to have a maniacal level of customer empathy. In product management, most things start with a customer, and developing that customer empathy is essential. You also have to be a pain point seeker. You should love customer problems, or at least you should love finding customer pain points. And you should also love trying to solve for those problems. Often, you'll also be responsible for defining things that are completely ambiguous at the time. So you should feel very comfortable working in ambiguity. Product management is also about tactical and strategic thinking. So you should have some business savvy to think strategically. So think not only about the next quarter, but also 2 to 5 years down the line. How will your product be in that time period? Who will your customers be in that time period? Also, a large portion of your daily decision-making will be about prioritization. You should have confidence in your prioritization process, whatever that may be. There's a lot of different prioritization processes that you can learn about and read about. But you should also be able to explain why something is prioritized over something else. You should be able to articulate that to, let's say, the CEO, and you should be able to articulate that to your engineers as to why you're choosing to work on something over another item. You should also be able to build coalitions. Coalition building is critical in product management. Think about when you had to build a coalition in your current position, current industry. Those skills, the coalition building skills, will be very, very useful in product management. Can you promote a vision? Are you a vision promoter? In other words, basically, can you tell a compelling story? Being able to form a product vision and to tell a compelling story and to pitch that vision to others is a key and critical attribute in product management. Also, can you influence and persuade people? So often, you'll be working with designers and engineers that you do not have any supervisory power over. You can't fire them, you can't kick them out of the building, but you still need to be able to influence them as a product manager. This goes along with coalition building. It's along the same lines, but you have to learn how to influence without authority. You may already have many of those key attributes that I mentioned in the last slide. So I've met first-time product managers who already have many of those. And they can be gained from a variety of job sectors. The ones that the product managers that I've met have come from marketing, psychology, economics, law, finance, behavioral science, sales, customer support, and even improv and stand-up comedy. I've met some really brilliant product managers that have done improv and stand-up comedy. So essentially, many of the key skills needed to be a good product manager can be found in other job sectors already. So take a deep look at your field, your current tasks, your current daily responsibilities, and see which ones of those can be leveraged towards a potential product management career. So how to transition into product management. Essentially, I'm going to walk you through a few kind of tips and tricks, if you could say. One is what I call current industry and tech tie-ins. This is essentially the way I was introduced to product management and how I transitioned into product management. The other one is side projects. I'll get into that. And also self-learning. And then I'm going to talk about a little about how to land the first product management job. So in terms of current industry and tech tie-ins, what I mean about this is that think about your current job or industry. This can be anywhere. You could be anywhere. You could be in fintech, real estate, auto repair, gardening, home repair, trucking, education, whatever. And think about the software tools that you use or any products that serves that industry, okay? Learn about those tech companies that serve your industry. Deeply learn about them. Because product managers at those companies that develop those products that serve your industry spend a significant amount of time trying to understand you because you are a user of their product. They spend a considerable amount of time trying to empathize with your pain, with your problems, in order for them to solve it. So in a way, you kind of have an advantage over somebody who would apply for a product manager role at those companies. You already have a deep understanding of user problems. You already have a deep understanding of how you as a user solve problems. And that is one critical attribute to product managers at those companies. This is actually how I transitioned into product management. I was a lawyer. Specifically, I was an immigration lawyer, actually. And one of the tools that immigration law firms use is a case management software tool developed by ex-INSZoom. My law firm was a customer. I was a user. So I learned about that company. And eventually, I reached out to the company. So I actually recommend researching every tech provider that serves your current industry. Assuming you don't work in tech, you work at some industry, I would do research on every single tech provider that could be serving your industry. Learn about them, learn what they do, reach out to their HR. At first, look at possible jobs that they have that are similar to yours. Doesn't have to be a product manager right away. If you get your foot in the door in those companies, it's much easier to move into product management or a position like product management from within, especially if you come from being a former customer, a former user of their product. Okay, another tip in terms of transitioning into product management is side projects. So side projects are great if you have if you don't have any deep tech experience or tech background at all. There are tools out there that you can use with little or no tech knowledge. There's a lot of no-code tools that you can take advantage of that you could spin something up and get it up and running. Now, if you do a side project, I recommend that you check off a few boxes because some of these items may come up in an interview, or an HR person or a product manager interviewing you may ask about some of these questions. So if you do a side project, make sure that you did some level of user research on a customer segment. Define the customer segment that you're trying to serve. In terms of the user research, what are your artifacts? What are the documents that you kept? What were the data that you found? So that, along with learning about user pain and problems, this is something that's key to product management. It would be good if you can articulate or display the learnings and the findings you gained from your user research. Also, did you make a small prototype? Making a small prototype is a great way in terms of validating your research. It could be a simple paper prototype. It could be something you draw on a piece of paper to validate the problems they have. And if you have a solution, just you could simply draw draw a progress step bar, draw a solution that you could go back to the customer or potential customer and try to validate with them. Did you also define what the first version looked like? What is the MVP? And a future interviewer would be interested in knowing how you might go about defining the first version, or how did you define what an MVP looked like of this side project? Also, did you launch it? So you got to launch it, and once it's launched, it's good if you iterate off it, if you optimize it, if you improve on it. These are some check boxes that I would use if I did do a side project. These are some of the check boxes that I would go through and make sure that I did. So also, it's better to do this with a small group. It shows, again, coalition building, that you can work with people, that you could bring people together, right? I mentioned no-code tools previously. An example is, utilizing tools like Typeform, okay? You could set up an e-commerce funnel right on Typeform. People can input their information. You could sell a service, a document, and Typeform integrates with Stripe. So you could actually have a payment feature right at the end of the form, right at the end of the funnel. And essentially, you don't have to write any code because it's all integrated and it's no code. Of course, self-learning. This is a big tip. This is how, I supplemented some of the knowledge that I have in product management is through self-learning. So product school right off the bat. Very rich content. General Assembly as well. They have a very compelling course list for product management. Harvard CS50. This is for a great overview of computer science. For those who don't have any tech background at all, I would recommend going into the Harvard CS50 course. Marty Kagan's Silicon Valley Product Group is a great resource. His book, Inspired, the second edition, has just been a blessing to a lot of product managers and to a lot of product management teams. Cracking the PM Interview. I think this is a very known book out there in the industry. It's still good. And then we have the blog and Fearless Product Leadership as a podcast. These are great self-learning items here, and I recommend anybody to go through this list. And there's more out there, but I think this would be a good start for somebody trying to self-learn product management. And in terms of landing the job, so expand your PM network, connect with current PMs, but also, again, learn about the companies that product managers work in, because they work in various industries. And don't just connect with PMs on LinkedIn, connect with the HR managers at those companies. Also connect with people at those companies that have a similar job that you're currently in. And ask questions about what do they do differently at that particular tech company compared to your company, right? Also, PM mentors. There's a lot of PM mentors out there. Find one, find several of them. They are very helpful. They have, lean on people that have experience, that's gone through this path before. And there are PM coaches as well that you can pay and have some one-to-ones on. And those are also great resources. These are also great resources in terms of helping you land the job, because the more you network on LinkedIn, the more doors will be open, especially when you start talking with mentors and coaches that have a wider breadth of a network in the industry. If you're getting serious about looking at PM jobs, I recommend you join Exponent. www.tryexponent.com. They are a great resource in terms of going through classic interview questions for bigger tech companies. They pose questions and interview courses in terms of, product design, estimation questions, technical product questions. They go through all of it. And even if you're not applying to bigger tech companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, just going through their course and having that background, that intensive background of interviewing, those questions that they say in the course, will give you a solid foundation if you go to another, if you do an interview at a smaller tech company or a startup, right? It provides you with a great framework, and it could always also be seen as a self-learning component here. But in terms of landing the job and getting the job, Exponent is a great resource, and it is a great resource for interviews and nailing that product manager interview. Last item here on landing the job is a site called JobScan. So, if you're not from product management, if you're in a different field, there are certain words and phrases that you see in many product manager jobs, especially entry-level product manager jobs, because a lot of times companies look for generalists, and they look for people who don't necessarily have a specialty in one sector or another, like health or something. Most entry-level jobs are kind of general product manager jobs. And in these job postings, there are certain key phrases and words. And if you're not used to product management, your resume may be lacking in those phrases and words. So JobScan is a tool where you can compare a product manager job, or any job, frankly, to your resume. And it shows you the type of, the missing data, right? Like where the delta is between certain words and phrases. Now, I want you to take the delta, those words that you don't see, not necessarily like put them in your resume. Of course, you could do that too, but learn why those words are appearing in product manager job posting over and over again, right? So it's a great way to compare and contrast product manager job postings to your resume, but also to learn why certain phrases and words appear in certain product manager jobs, because that could be a sign for you to go back and start learning certain phrases, certain words that you're missing in your resume. So, that's it. I want to end by saying that no matter what career you're currently in, no matter where you are in your career journey, if you want to become a product manager, you can. Nothing is stopping you. There's been no better time to go into this field than right now. There are so many resources for you to take advantage of. I'm more than happy to be a resource for anyone interested in product management. Please get in contact with me through LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn address. Go ahead, try to find me. I'd be more than happy to connect. And thank you for your time.